Imagine everything you know about the Vikings is wrong. We picture fearless warriors and roaring ships. But what if their darkest legacy isn't found in battlefields or sagas, but in the silence that followed? A silence so horrifying that even medieval chroniclers refused to write it. Today, on the Royal Era, we uncover the hidden brutality history tried to bury forever. We remember Vikings as brave raiders, masters of the sword and sea. But after the flames died and the prayers of dying monks faded into the night, the real nightmare began. Not for the warriors. Their torment ended quickly. The true horror was reserved for the nuns who survived. Women who had dedicated their lives to faith suddenly found themselves caught in a reality where death was mercy. The Vikings didn't raid monasteries only for gold, relics, or wealth. They raided for people. Archaeology at Dublin's ancient waterfront reveals shackles sized for slender wrists, ankle rings made for women, and storage buildings built to confine living bodies. These weren't random captives. These were nunc-value prisoners in the Viking slave economy. Old price carvings discovered in Schleswig showed their worth. 20 pieces of silver for a young nun, 15 for an older sister, 10 if she was wounded. These weren't rumors. They were receipts carved in stone. Being sold, however, was often the most merciful outcome. Evidence from Irish bogs near Port Marnow reveals female skeletons with the same haunting marks. Blunt trauma to the skull, broken arms raised in defense, shattered ribs from prolonged assault. They didn't die in battle. They died afterward, once their captors had decided their fate. This wasn't chaos. It was ritual. It was routine. Anglo-Saxon archaeological sites reveal stains of blood beneath monastery ruins, evidence of mass killings, recorded by monks who refused to describe what befell their own sisters. Viking law itself confirms the cruelty. In Old Norse culture, a captured nun was legally claimed as property. Her will meant nothing. Her consent was irrelevant. The law even declared that children born from such violence were legitimate. But even this twisted version of ownership wasn't the worst fate. Across Viking Europe, excavations show evidence of ritual sacrifice involving women, drugged, strangled, and displayed as part of funerary rites. Norse boat burials even contain female skeletons showing marks of forced compliance, with traces of hallucinogenic plants in their teeth, rugs meant to dull terror. Children born from these unions suffered a fate no chronicle dared write. Viking refuse pits near Thetford contain infant bones with deliberate skull fractures. These weren't stillbirths. These were executions. Children neither faith nor father wanted to claim. Slave markets expanded from Dublin to Hiddeby. Every major Viking town had holding facilities. Every port had processing centers. And behind closed doors, the nuns of Christ were stripped of everything, even their names. Some were shipped east along the rivers of Russia, all the way to the markets of Baghdad, where fair-skinned nuns were sold as luxury treasures. Others were kept in long-term confinement. Excavations in York uncovered a stone structure with 64 individual cells, each with chains fixed into the walls. Soil layers show for decades of continual imprisonment. Bone fragments reveal repeated pregnancies. Almost none of the children survived. Church records describe them as foundlings, baptized without parents' names, then sold as servants. The church didn't stop the trade. It profited from it. Archaeological evidence shows that this system wasn't a brief moment of brutality. It lasted generations. In Repton, beneath a known mass grave, deeper layers of female bones were found. Dozens of women poisoned slowly with mercury compounds, driven mad before death so their testimonies would never matter. Madness erased truth. Their voices were silenced, twice. First by suffering, then by disbelief. Among the remains was a young nun, no more than 13 or 14. A runic inscription was carved into her skull after death. 3 chilling words. Better this way. Not mercy. Just justification. Yet, even in this darkness, some women resisted. Chronicles speak of a nun named Gunhild, once a captive of the Vikings, who escaped and spent years hunting her former She freed hundreds of enslaved nuns and burned Viking camps to the ground. Her story disappears from records, but burned Norse settlements along the Seine tell the rest. Someone was striking terror into the Vikings themselves. The most haunting truth is that the Viking Age ended, but the system did not. Christian kingdoms inherited Viking slave networks. They changed the names, not the chains. Even after conquest, nuns continued to be treated as property. Their bodies used to legitimize land transfers and political unions. Every grave, every ruin, every fragment of bone whispers the same truth. The suffering was systematic, the silence intentional, and the victims forgotten. If you believe these lost voices deserve to be remembered, subscribe to the Royal Era. Together, we revealed the history others tried to erase.